Welcome in to a fun-filled and exciting edition of Locked On 76ers. And this might be the easiest cold open we've ever had to do, Keith, because all I'm going to say is Joel Embiid played basketball last night on a court with his teammates against an opponent in front of people in South Philadelphia. We'll talk about all that and more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. Yes, Marc Jackson, we are live today, this morning, and I will say I was monitoring the chat as we were getting underway here, fixing a little technical difficulty. And I got to put this up right out of the gate, Keith, because it's my favorite thing. The Bull RJ. I truly want to pump the brakes. I really do. But I just witnessed the Kensington Ave Zombies turned into the 76ers. Even though it's preseason, you could get a little bit excited about this. I certainly am. Keith, watching Joel Embiid play last night, I wanted to watch him play. But at the same time, I didn't want him to play. But he played, and it was awesome. I was very much impressed, and I'm going to use this word. Some might say it's over dramatic, but I'm going to use it. Comforted. I was comforted. I did not expect him to play in the preseason. He was running up and down the court. He had a coast-to-coast lay-in. He got fouled. He was aggressive under the basket. Kind of close to a triple-double in like 19 minutes played. It was exactly what I wanted to see from Joel Embiid in his preseason debut in the preseason finale for the Sixers. It's what I wanted to see before the season starts up Wednesday night. You were down there. You were on the scene. Tell me the vibes.
It was great. I mean, for him, like it was funny. He when he was introduced, he got a nice applause, right? It was something for him that I felt like it was important for him to hear, the way that the crowd applauded for him. And it was crazy because at the beginning, like 4 seconds in, like he gets the opening tip, and then all of a sudden he turns around and he shoots this long three, and you're like, "Yo, what are you doing?" But then you realize you're like, this guy is just so amped up. And then there was like 19 seconds later from that, he just snatched the ball from the guy underneath the Minnesota Timberwolves basket. And you're like, okay. And then he comes down and he scores. He makes a midi a little bit later. So, Joel was excited. The one thing that really stood out to me the most was his passing, right? It was the way that he was able to pass the ball. He was getting teammates involved. Right now, I don't know if this is how he wants to play or this is how he believes at this particular time he can play for maybe fear of re-injuring the knee. We didn't see a lot of Embiid drive into the basket. We saw a lot of Embiid like he was in this wide scrimmage, facing the basket from the elbow, from the 3-point line, what have you, dishing the ball to teammates and then certain opportunities taking advantage. But his elite passing, on guys cutting to the basket, there was 3 where dudes were streaking down the court for uncontested, which would have been uncontested layups. And what did Embiid do? He got dime assists on them, right? Pinpoint. He had 3 of them. So, I was impressed with what I saw. I mean, he finished with 14 points on 5 for 10 shooting, 2 for 4 on threes. In addition to that, he had 7 rebounds. He had 8 assists and had 3 steals, right? Mm-hmm. In the little bit over 18 minutes. So he played well. Now, Mark, I must add this. There was a scare, though. There was a scare. In the third quarter, Joel Embiid gets a charge. He gets up. His knee buckles a little bit, like wobbles a little bit. And he sprints down court. but the Sixers quickly call a timeout. He goes to the locker room. I asked the team spokesman, what's wrong? He says, oh, nothing. Everything is okay. And he says he's done for the game. He's getting some treatment. And he comes back in the fourth quarter and sits on the bench. He did have a big pad on his knee after the game, but that's the same pad that I told you that he had on during the scrimmage.
The heating pad.
Yeah, the heating pad, and that he normally walks out the game. So there was a scare, but everybody made it seem like it wasn't as bad as it looked. But, it was good to see him out there.
All right, let me put this under the umbrella. Normally we do this when we talk about what they're facing, the opposition, all that stuff. Like we understand who they played against. Well, last night we understand who they played against. It's not about
they played against man,
an 18-year-old. Joel Embiid
that was the equivalent of the NBA's version of Church League.
Yeah, Washington Generals.
Yeah.
Washington Generals, Sisters of the Poor, Keystone Cops, whatever. I'll say I don't care. This wasn't about playing the 80s Celtics. You know what I mean? This was about playing, just playing. That's all it was about. So I don't care that he was going up against Baron J, for instance. I only care that he was out there running the floor. The two coast-to-coast plays that he made last night were great. You mentioned the passing. He had 3 assists in the first 6 minutes he played in that first quarter. There was one play he made with Kelly Oubre cutting on the baseline where he provided the assist and the screen all in one fell swoop, which was just a great play by him. And I hope that he can accept playing the way he's playing, or the way he's playing. Make it seem like he's playing 30 games here. But I hope he can accept the style of play that you saw him play in the scrimmage. I hope he can accept the style of play that you saw him play last night. Because, look, you're talking about, you said 18-plus minutes, between 18 and 19 minutes played last night. You're talking about still getting pretty damn close to a triple-double. Just to look at the numbers of it, now, that would be a little bit more difficult against a better opponent, obviously. But just in terms of style, in terms of health, this was, I feel, for Sixers fans, and maybe you alluded to it there with the ovation he got or the welcome he got back, this was the warm hug I think a lot of Sixers fans needed, like just to see him play. You saw him ramp up in the practice, going one-on-one with a coach, just a little move there, a little thread the needle bounce pass you saw in a later video. You saw him obviously at least go out there and make the trip to Abu Dhabi. You see him in the scrimmage game. You see him last night actually play against an opponent in live game action for the first time in 237 days. This, I think, was a nice, warm hug that a lot of 76ers fans needed. Now, after the game, he addressed the media. I caught some of his post-game press conference there, Keith. He seemed like he was in good spirits. He seemed like almost he was relieved that he went through his first live-action game.
Yeah, well, he was relieved, but he was also elated. It was kind of sort of like, first of all, I want to say this. Typically, Joel takes a long time to talk. Now, again, I get it. He in the third quarter, when he came out of the game, he took his shower, he changed his clothes, he came back in, right? But he was talking about how excited he was to be back on the floor, how much he loved being on there, right? And he was in a great mood, you know what I mean? So, but the thing that really stood out, one of the things was how the way he loves the way the team is playing. He says, I think the way I always wanted to play is everybody touching the ball, moving side to side. People getting off the ball and just playing together. I guess he talked about more team ball. So far, it seems like that's the way, at least tonight, that's the way it was with everybody touching the ball. I was happy about the assists. That's how I want to play. That keeps everybody happy, keeps everybody involved, and it's fun to play that way. And with that, he talked about how, Tyrese Maxey had 27 points, how VJ Edgecombe had 26, how Quentin Grimes had 22, right, off the bench, shooting 7 for 13, 4 for 6 on threes. So to him, he's saying this is the best way. And then even Nick Nurse even raved about him afterwards, right? Nick was like, I thought he moved good, played good, shot it good, passed it good. I was about to say, dang, dude, how many goods you going to say? But then he kept going and he said, I didn't see too many negatives out there. So that's good. I thought he was moving. The main thing is that he's moving and making good basketball plays. I didn't look. It didn't look like he was that rusty in general, right? So Nick had felt that Embiid. Speaking for Nick felt that Embiid played a good game. Let's just put it that way.
I think that's a safe bet. Now, you answer totally independent. Don't let me influence anything. Maybe it was just me being optimistic. I don't know. Maybe it was letting the moment get the best of me, but it certainly felt like to me, and you pointed out the three that he attempted. So Bona takes the tip, Embiid corrals it, and right away shoots a three. Unfortunately, it was a miss. But it seemed like from that moment and then for the rest of the 18 plus minutes, it just seemed like you saw him get more comfortable and try to test himself a little bit. And what I'm alluding to with that was, again, to go back to it, see him go coast to coast, see him run the floor, see him try to draw a charge, see him have a charge, test the limits of the injury. It seemed like as the game was going on, you could see him progressing and getting more comfortable and trying to test it a little bit more as the game went on. Did you get a sense of that, or is that just all in my head?
Yes and no. Like there were certain things that I felt like he was still. I mean, he got a little bit more comfortable. I felt like there were certain things that he still is a little hesitant to do. And I think that when you look at the injury that he overcame, that's normal. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get confidence in it again. I'm talking about, like, the way he was like maneuvering, and things like that. Now, you are right. Towards the end, when he bowled over the dude and got the charge, yeah, he was trying to do something, and then they took him out of there.
Sorry to interject, but I just want to share this with you. I literally have in the third quarter in my notes, Embiid too hard to the rim. Don't need that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he tried then, and then they said, "Oh no, we got to get him out of here." But the thing is, I do also believe, like, for Embiid, for like we're talking about a confidence game, right? I do think that the NBA version of the Generals, the Washington Generals that they played last night, a la the Church League team, a la the Jerusalem Rockets, a la Little Sisters, but the poor. That was the best team for him to come back against, because what it is like, no offense to that team, but Embiid is probably getting more defensive coverage at practice if Bona goes up against him, against Drummond. These guys, I'm not saying, not a knock against them. They were just young dudes, and they probably only had like two guys on there who has a chance to be in the Minnesota Timberwolves actual rotation, right? But at the same time, you got to get somebody out there and just have them go through things and do things. And I felt like this was the best thing. It was like the equivalent of saying, okay, Joel, you're coming over an injury. We want to send you down to the G League for a game and see what you can do. But
rehab assignment.
Rehab assignment. But the thing about it is that some of the things that we saw, the crisp passes, the other things, the aggressiveness, all that other things, those are some things that you will see him doing against anybody, that passing, right? The outlet passes. So again, like, I like it, and I felt like it was a smart time to bring him back. You know what I mean? Where he doesn't have to, he can just get used to playing a certain role, get confident in that role, as opposed to saying, okay, I got to go against Karl Anthony Towns. If I don't totally dominate Karl in this game against the Knicks in Abu Dhabi, then all of a sudden people are going to say I'm not the same guy. If that makes sense to you, you know
absolutely.
what I mean? Like, stop trying to, you yesterday gave him an opportunity to play a certain role and get comfortable with it, as opposed to trying to say, well, dang, is this for my legacy or not? You know what I mean? Get caught up with that.
Yeah. Like if Gobert would have played last night, for instance, it would have been, oh, look at him. Look how the mighty have fallen. That kind of.
It's in that. And he looked good. I'll be honest with you. He looked good. Now, the question mark is, he says he likes passing the ball. He likes doing all this other stuff, right? The question, and we talked about it before, is if they start struggling, is he going to be content feeding the ball to players? Or is he going to do what he's done in the past and say, I gotta attack? But again, there was an aggressiveness, there was an alertness, and there was an unselfishness that if he continues to play that way, in this style of play that they want to play, I feel like the 76ers will do fine. I mean, it looks like to me, to be honest with you, Joel Embiid is going to be he's going to be like Mr. Versatility. The head of the snake on the offensive end is going to be Tyrese Maxey, right? I think he's going to be the head of the snake. And so, we're going to look at Tyrese Maxey probably leading the team and scoring, doing everything. But I feel like if Embiid is content with this role, it's going to benefit a lot of people. It is.
I agree. And you know what? I'll add this, including him, because if he's not pushing it with the knee, if he's not trying to bowl over people, or he's not trying to, fight his way to the basket and do a lot of foul hunting and all that, then he's only going to be healthier for it, I believe, as the season goes on. So I think it helps everybody, including himself. When we come back, I absolutely love, Keith, what we saw from the three guards last night. Again, granted who they were against, but still seeing them out on the court, including Quentin Grimes for the first time. It was a sight to be seen. We'll talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers. Speaking of sights to be seen, ladies and gentlemen, how about your front yard for Halloween decorations, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays? Wayfair has you covered with some fantastic items for you. The holidays, they're going to be here before you know it, starting with Halloween, then rolling into Thanksgiving, Christmas right around the corner, a holiday season, of course. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home holiday ready, from Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding, cookware, outdoor inflatables. It's your one-stop shop for every room in the house. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection of every style and for every budget, with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff. You can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. So what are you waiting for? What do you want to buy for the holiday season? Wayfair has got you covered. Delivery is fast and free, and you're going to love how easy it is to find the pieces that fit your style and budget. Everything in one place, and you can check out in a breeze. It's just that easy. So go to wayfair.com and get organized, refreshed, and ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. You mentioned Tyrese Maxey. You mentioned Quentin Grimes. You mentioned VJ Edgecombe. I mentioned there for a second Kelly Oubre on the nice little give and go and screen with Joel Embiid. It was a beautiful baseline jam there for Kelly Oubre. But this is the first time we got to see Maxey, Edgecombe, and Grimes out there on the court. You mentioned their scoring. I will say this. Their chemistry seemed like they had been playing together for a long time already. I really, there was one or two missed passes, but it felt like to me that these guys were on the same page already. I think that's a testament to a lot of work that VJ and Maxey were doing in the offseason, and also Grimes trying to stay sharp while he was in Houston.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, and I'm pretty sure Quentin Grimes would love to be in that starting lineup, right? I mean, he would love to. And I wouldn't be surprised the lineup that we saw they threw out there yesterday is going to be the lineup that we're going to see on opening night if Embiid plays. With Bona playing the 4, Embiid playing Bona playing the 5, Embiid playing the 4, Quentin Grimes coming off the bench, right? Kelly Oubre getting the start at small forward, and the backcourt being Edgecombe and Maxey. Here's the thing that really stood out to me, and there were certain times where they had Edgecombe bringing the ball up. And when you look at him, you say to yourself, like, okay, but all right, he's not by doing this, he's not being free. He's not doing certain things. Now, don't get me wrong, there were times they took him off the ball, they tried to get the lobs to him, they did that. But what you notice was with him bringing the ball up, it was enabling Tyrese Maxey to roam freely, to sprint up the court without the ball. He would find Maxey, other people would find Maxey, and Maxey was like just a killer, like just getting buckets, left and right. Now, again, little sisters of the poor. But at the same time, we're looking at it and we're saying to ourselves, the Sixers got to worry about themselves. They're working on things. This is the first time that they had Embiid out there. First time they had this lineup. This is what they got. This is the first time that Quentin Grimes played as well. So this is what they're trying to work on and get. So then you look at it, and then all of a sudden Maxey comes out, and it's kind of like, okay, let's get Quentin involved. Let's see what he can do. And he was getting buckets. It was like they were all taking turns. And then the thing about Edgecombe, when you talk about the missed passes, it was like the timing factor. A couple lobs he tried to get, and they missed on. A couple dunks he missed on. Things like that. But you look at it and you say, okay, they're working on those things. Well, did it look a little sloppy at times? Yes, it did. But then in the fourth quarter, when they made him the focal point, he ended up scoring 11 of his 26 points, right? And then on the defensive end, we could talk about Joel Embiid, having a game-high 6 assists. Well, VJ Edgecombe had a game-high 5 steals. You know what I mean? So he brought it on the defensive end, getting in the passing lanes. He did a lot of great things. Now, again, it's like when you initially look at it, it's one of those things because you're saying, okay, what is he doing? He's standing around offensively early on. I don't know. He's just athletic. He's this, he's that. Then you look down at the box score and you're like, oh, hey, he got all these steals. Oh, he got a couple assists. Oh, he's doing this. He's doing that. So, yeah, I like what I saw when you look at the three-headed. And Quentin Grimes, he looked pretty good coming off the bench. I mean, 7 for 13, 4 for 6 shooting threes, 22 points. He looked good, and all three of them picked their spots. Like they picked their spots when it was time for them to dominate.
One of my favorite plays of the game was in the second corner. Bona has the block. Maxey's the one that gathers it. And then right away, the quick outlet pass to VJ Edgecombe. And VJ was like gone. Like the second the shot was up, and you could see Bona under the rim, blocking the shot, whatever. And then you see Maxey gets it. He's just gone. He's already at the foul line on the other end. And Maxey hits him perfectly, and he throws it down for the jam. Every time I watch VJ Edgecombe, I have to almost be – it's like we knew coming out of the draft or going into the draft how athletic he was. Anybody that watched Baylor, anybody that watched the highlights, you saw how athletic he was. You saw him in Summer League, the 2 games, wildly athletic. And then you see him out there in Abu Dhabi, even more athletic. Then you see him, I guess it was the adrenaline of the hometown crowd for the first time. You see him just take off to another height. It was awesome to watch that on display last night, to see him and Maxey and Grimes running the floor, Oubre obviously being out there as well throughout the game. That was great. But I just continue to be reminded and impressed with the athleticism of VJ Edgecombe. And I thought that was off the charts last night. One of the things that I did see that was a little bit unique that I hadn't seen as much in the previous games, you mentioned the steals, the quick hands. It was wild. I thought he was forcing a lot of turnovers that way. He was getting the steals that way. He was doing something that I know we liked Matisse Thybulle a lot when he was here for his defensive ability and all that. I noticed VJ Edgecombe on 1 or 2 of his steals do something that you would see a lot from Thybulle, which was kind of baiting guys into thinking the passing lane was open and then jumping the passing lane for the steal. And that's an instinct that nobody teaches you. And VJ Edgecombe was doing that last night. And that is obviously not just a testament to speed and quickness, but just the mental maturity this guy has when it comes to the game of basketball. Everything I saw from him last night with, some tweaks. Like, for instance, first quarter, you mentioned some of the passes and all that. First quarter, he's bringing the ball up, 0 assists. Like, didn't have one helper, in the time that he was bringing the ball up. And then they started to come a little bit more as the game went on. But the just being comfortable out there and showing the mental maturity of a guy like that, I think is going to be a lot of fun to watch how he plays over the 82 games of a regular season.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and I talked to him about I talked to him about the situation that he's in right now. So, I know VJ Edgecombe said, I want to be rookie of the year. I want to do this. I want to do that. But the situation that he's in if the 76ers are extremely successful, you and I talked about this this summer, he's not going to get Rookie of the Year because that means Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, all these guys are playing well. So, but you look at it from a standpoint is the number 3 overall pick, you know, you can say, you know what, if I was on a bum team, a rebuilding team, this and that, I would get as many shots as I could. It would be more like how it was in the fourth quarter for him, right? He can like just spread the floor. They spread the floor and let him go to work, you know, learn from his mistakes, get a jack up a bunch of shots. Or you can be on this team where you got a lot of veterans where, you know, you got 3 future Hall of Famers and, you know, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Kyle Lowry. People may hate on Kyle Lowry, but he has the resume. He won a championship. He won an Olympic gold medal. He, you know, a 6-time All-Star, the whole 9, very well respected around the league. He could still get in. So I said, is this a blessing? And he said, yeah, man, God is great, man. He said, I'm thankful to be in this position. Like you said, it's a blessing. Like you said, I'm not part of a rebuilding team. I'm part of a team that's ready to win right now. It's a blessing from the man above just to get me in this situation. I don't know that everyone thought I would go to a rebuilding team or whatever. Like he said, I did know. Like everyone thought that I would go there, whatever. He said, like I said, I'm just blessed to have a former MVP on my team, all-star, superstars, all the best. That's going to help me learn out there. And that's true because it's being set up for him, kind of sort of like how Tyrese Maxey was. You know, he was a late first-round pick. So with late first-round picks, you tend to play on veteran teams. You look at all the guys who've helped Maxey out. He had James Harden, right? He had Tobias a little bit. You know, he learned a little bit from Ben. Now, some people may say, you know, what's that? But Ben was an all-star. You know, he learned from so many people, and he became a sponge and a hard worker. And now we look at him as, you know, an all-star caliber player. He got it 1 year. So when you think a guy like VJ, this is only going to help him down the road. And it takes the pressure off of him. He does not have to be the day one megastar. You know, he can develop, grow into his role, get coached up, learn things, see work ethic at practice, everything. Because to me, I'm going to be honest with you. When we look at the Spurs, and I'm not, believe me, y'all, I'm not comparing this guy to Tim Duncan. But what I'm trying to say is it was a similar situation. What happened is David Robinson got injured. The Spurs decided to tank. And what happened is the next year they came back with a veteran unit, and Tim Duncan was there. And Tim Duncan was able to soak up things like a sponge from David Robinson, from the other veterans they had. So, again, I'm not comparing this guy to Tim Duncan, the Hall of Famer. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is at the same time, he's able to soak up things from 3 future Hall of Famers, and no one knows how good Tyrese Maxey can be. So, you know, he has 4 solid players that he's learning from. And not to mention Eric Gordon, not to mention other players, you know what I mean? Andre Drummond. So there's a lot of people there that he can learn from.
Fantastic. When we come back, we're going to pick up some loose change here. We're going to talk about Don Barlow. We also got to talk about one thing in particular where I actually felt for the guy. But we'll talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers and Locked On Sixers YouTube channel. How about FanDuel? Take advantage of all FanDuel has to offer right now. Ladies and gentlemen, have yourself a good time on FanDuel. NFL season's here. NBA season just around the corner. FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app. So what are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app. I love how FanDuel gives you so many different ways to play. When you talk about building parlays, you try player props, even follow the live lines as all the action unfolds right in front of your very eyes. Love watching football with this because it makes it so much more exciting. Sports in general at FanDuel is that much more exciting. So again, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app. Go to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet to get started, and if it hits, you get $300 in bonus bets to use on the FanDuel app. That's FanDuel.com. One thing, Keith, I saw throughout last night's game whenever Adem Bona was in the game, and he was deliberately trying not to foul. And I think it was in the first quarter of the game where he was playing good defense, just using his body, moving with the offensive player, moving with the ball handler down, getting close to the post. And he got called for a foul. And the look on his face was, that's the one thing I'm trying not to do tonight is foul. Now, here's the deal. He ended up playing 23 minutes tonight or last night. One foul. It was his only foul.
And that was early too, wasn't it? That was the early one, wasn't it?
Quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, brother, here we go. They took him out shortly afterwards, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah,
and because we've talked about that a lot on the show. We talked about how in Summer League, like 8 fouls, 9 fouls, whatever. We talked about him having foul trouble in Abu Dhabi and making the effort to not foul. You saw that he was really disappointed. He's like, what do I need to do? I'm just a magnet now for calls, unfortunately. So that was one thing where I really felt for the player.
Like, bro. Stop reaching.
Did he reach on that? Because
everything. Huh?
Did he reach on that foul?
No, not really. He got a reputation.
Okay.
That was a reputation. I was like, yo, bro, man, like whenever somebody gets close to him, he's gonna hack him. Okay, foul. Boom.
Reputation foul. Fair enough. The other guy that I just was really happy for and continue to be happy for is I don't think anybody has helped their stock more from last season to this season. And obviously he wasn't here last year, but just I'll say from the time he joined the Sixers in Summer League, Dom Barlow, I feel like if you're buying stock in a player, he's the guy to buy stock in right now. Again, another night where he was just super aggressive.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And it's funny because it was, if you notice, like, Joel Embiid, the one thing I will say, when that lineup of Don Barlow and Bona, and then you get Maxey and Edgecombe and whoever else you want to put out there, they get out and go. I mean, that transition, like Joel was playing well, but Joel was more like anchor in the gym, so to speak. He was keeping up, he was trying to run. But that second unit or when they tweak stuff, it's kind of like, okay, it's fun and gun time. And Barlow was keeping up, he was doing all the things. Like you said, we keep talking about it, and we keep comparing them. But, they're extremely, he's more athletic than I thought he would be, that he can keep up with these dudes. But at the same time, it's like the Marc Ivoroni role. Like, you don't have to draw any plays for him. He's just smart enough to know that, hey, crash the boards, play solid D, do whatever I can to help this team. You know what I mean? Just help this team because, him and, let's say he's, if he's not the sixth man, he's the seventh man. But at the same time, I really like that change of pace that they provide when Embiid was out of the game. They got out and went. And he was out there with him. He was keeping up the pace. I really like what Barlow brings, man. I do. And it's funny because, I'm saying to myself, Daryl Morey, what are you waiting for, bro? Like, what are you waiting for now? So the thing is, when you look at his stats, you say 6 points on 3 for 6 shooting. You know what I mean? He had 5 rebounds, but 3 of them were on the offensive. He did pick up 3 fouls. He didn't have any steals. He didn't have any blocks. But it's just that energy that he provides in those offensive boards. Like, we look at it every game so far that I've been paying attention to. He's had more offensive rebounds than he's had defensive rebounds. And that's what the Sixers are going to need to keep these possessions alive.
Absolutely. His name is Keith Pompey. Make sure you guys are checking out all he's writing about your Philadelphia 76ers as a Sixers beat writer for Inquirer.com. My name is Marc Farzetta. Appreciate you guys joining us on this Saturday morning after the Philadelphia 76ers wrapped up preseason play with Joel Embiid on the floor. We'll be back with you guys on Monday to break it down even further. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On 76ers. That's Locked On 76ers. And how about this? Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen today. For your second listen, make sure you guys find Locked On Fantasy Basketball, where Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you.